Oh, sorry. Can one of you read, please? I'm talking on mute.
Shall I, brother?
Yes, yes, please.
Whispers from the Brighter World. Reverend Bapurji Maharaj. Saturday, December 18th, 1999, 8 a.m. Today's researchers are mistaken in their estimates of the age of the earth and what its inhabitants were. You will find in this book on Krishna 3 some indications that will confirm this, even if it should not be considered on the authentic history in its entirety. The Mahabharata story, as recounted in this film, is not the pure reflection of reality either. The holy books of all religions also contain some errors. The facts interpreted and told by people are often distorted. They should be taken as a whole without dwelling on details. This history of the past is behind you all. As for you, you build the present and the future. That's what matters. The essential for you is to take part in this great adventure of modern times and do your best so that the world can change on crucial points. Violence, lack of compassion of the greatest number, selfishness, and unscrupulousness in doing evil. If each of you, our aspirants, tries to change, it will transform the world and your practice will benefit everyone. Babuji. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sister. So today I've got a slightly smaller one, and okay, might be interesting to a lot of history and the people who follow our ancient text and all of that. So fairly straightforward, I thought. Okay, we also have this subtext at the bottom. Sister, you want to just read that, if you don't mind?
Uh,
This one,
the
are you able to see?
the modern the modern his, sorry modern
Go.
historians of this earth cannot supply historical evidences of events that occurred before 5000 years ago, and the anthropologists say that 40,000 years ago homo sapiens had not appeared on this planet because evolution had not reached that point. But the Vedic histories, such as the Puranas and Mahabharata, relate human histories which extend millions and billions of years into the past. That is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by A.C. Uh, Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. That's in brackets. Thank you,
Thank you.
brother.
Okay. Anybody has any views?
Brother, Babuji
Yes, brother.
telling that we are present, build the present and future. Future, not for past things. We going historical things. We go for the future and present condition. That's I going to understand.
Oh, you're saying don't dwell on the past. They should be taken.
Yes,
Okay, history of the past is behind you. Look at what is there in
yes,
the present. This line you're saying. Okay, yeah, that is
okay,
the key point he's saying.
yes,
Uh,
brother.
okay, I think there was one more hand raised. Brother Shrikant, I think, right?
Here, another aspect is the opportunity that each one of us have as abhyasis. In fact, we can make a positive impact on society especially when we participate in universal prayer, artful suggestions. In fact, I remember Chariji Maharaj used to say that you cannot change society as a whole, but if each one of you change, I mean, if you change, society has changed to that extent. So that is something which is really wonderful.
The last line, right? You're kind of relating
Yes,
to the last line. Each
yes,
of you
yes.
are aspirants. Okay.
Yeah, and also, in fact, the almost the entire second part is,
Hmm.
I mean, there is some kind of indirect motivation for us to, uh, you know, participate in this by using the opportunities that the masters have given us.
Hmm. Thank you, brother. I think, sister, you have any
Um,
views on this? Mhm.
yes, brother, because um, our Babaji Maharaj has really changed the whole evolution part itself. What we have learned in the uh, evolution of humankind, human
Mhm.
or man, we were told that Homo sapiens were evolved from chimpanzees, etc. But Master is making it very clear that it is not so. Really, uh, even in Mahabharata time, that he has given the number of years back, 40,000 years back also, humans were present. So it really changes what we were taught in childhood. So we were there all the time, like we were born like as human
So
beings
how?
only, not evolved.
Oh, you're saying it from this, right? The subtext you're saying. Okay.
Ah, yes, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Even in the beginning, Masters told that there are so many distorted facts were interpreted in the wrong way or told by the people.
Mhm.
Mahabharata also. Uh, I mean, I had a question in the mind that how the evolution started and how it came. Somehow it got cleared, brother. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, brother. Some more hands raised. We can take two more. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, brother. I'm trying to relate in this why he is talking about Mahabharata
Hmm.
and then he's talking about our role in the future. And see what the connection is. It sounds like at the time of Mahabharata, there were, I think, a lot of those evil, right? Um, lack of compassion, selfishness, and Lord Krishna came down at the time, right? There was the to rid the world of some of that evil. And in the second part of this, Master is saying, as for you, you build the present and the future, and essential for you to take part in this great adventure so that the world can change on crucial points. So it sort of feels like, our journey collectively is part of some kind of a divine plan. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but that is my inference.
Okay. Yes. I think some more hands are raised. Go ahead,
Namaste.
brother.
Yeah, Namaste.
Namaste.
Actually, there are a lot of studies in Western countries also, India also, in estimating the Mahabharata, Vedic periods, and also lot of past events, and also the age of Earth and all it's going on. Current Babuji, he says whatever estimates, whether it is science or even religious books or whatever hearsay is there, everything is having some errors. So we cannot have correct picture of the past, and whatever doing that kind of study is have no value now. If we see the present, what is happening in the present, we can build on the future. So that work is more beneficial for us. And that's what he says.
Yeah, I think the one point you raised was very pertinent. That not that everything that's written in the book is correct,
Yes.
because over a period of time there's a lot of distortion, and it may not be a pure reflection of reality. So if you have that in mind, and also don't go into the details, maybe you should just take the essence of what is being said. Um, okay, good points, brother. I think maybe one more hand, sister.
Yes, brother.
Hmm.
Uh, I have also the same opinion about the uh, uh, here Babuji is saying about the history books that we can't take it as it is for this time, as they are related to that time. And here one thing that we can't. This what important is, the essential thing is for you is the part is that what Babuji is saying is important. Living in present and what should we do in present is important, not the history uh,
Okay.
taking as it is important. This is what I feel about this,
Yeah.
brother. The present is important now, present tense.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Brother, one more I can take. Any other views? Most of it is represented. I think. But go ahead, brother. If you have anything, you can talk.
Hello.
Mhm.
Jaichima, are you telling me?
Yes, you had raised a hand. I think.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Very good evening. So, logically speaking, it is, I just don't know, I just felt it. Logically speaking, if we had evolved from Homo sapiens, then there should have been no more monkeys anymore, right? So, all the monkeys should have evolved into human beings. So, it that what we were fed from the childhood is false. Basically, that is my feeling. And so I totally agree with what Babuji has written, because we have to grasp the essence instead of deviating here, there, this happened, that happened, and getting lost in that maze of thoughts and the mental thinking. The feeling part becomes more important. So I'm just telling what I felt like. That's the thing. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we got it. I don't want to go beyond this. It looks like all of you have given your thoughts. Only thing I wanted to add is the greatest evil in probably in today's world is all of this, at least at a high level, right? Lack of compassion, selfishness, violence. So there is evil. So if we all rise above that, that is more important, and that is essential. Okay, I'll stop the share. We can go back to our book. Thank you so much for sharing your opinions.
One last point, brother. Interesting is in Babuji's in the Whisper, they've
Hmm.
actually quoted about ISKCON founder.
Hmm.
Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada is the
Is
founder of ISKCON.
ISKCON. Correct.
Okay.
And also, looks like the context was somebody asked about the film or something. So he's saying Mahabharata film. I don't know that.
In fact, there are quite a few things you can actually pick up from Bhagavad Purana.
I see.
And one of the books that many people refer to as of now in terms of Bhagavad Purana is the ISKCON version.
Mhm.
The ISKCON version of the Bhagavad Purana. So, in terms of contamination, if you remember, Bhagavad Gita, Daji talked about that 6 or 7 verses, which was the main thing that was conveyed to Arjuna. And then now you have almost nearly 700 plus verses. Likewise, we were just thinking the Yoga Vasishtha apparently is mentioned to have 32,000 verses. Now I was just wondering, Yoga Vasishtha was written in the context of Vasishtha trying to convince Rama to stay and look after the kingdom. Now, even if Vasishtha had spoken 32,000 verses, how long it would have taken for him to convince Rama to do what he's supposed to do? So, in other words, almost every other book is a huge contamination. Yesterday, I was just looking at some Islam related thing. And the original Islam has very few verses. But as and when centuries pass by, you have so much changes and contamination. Same thing with Christianity. Yesterday I was just watching some Christianity also. So one Paul, who's traveling in Damascus on a hot sunny day, has a vision of a light, and based on that vision of light, he constructs a Christ of his imagination. Not the Christ who lived in Bethlehem 300 years back, but the Christ of his imagination. And then that documentary was about comparing the Christ of that era in Bethlehem to the Christ of Paul. And then how this whole thing changed subsequently. But anyway, interesting. That's one of the things Babuji has mentioned, that almost all religious books contain errors. So the context that we need to remember is that we need to look at what time that particular book was written and how is it relevant for the present. That should be the perspective all the time. You might read any book, it doesn't matter. But is there something that you can actually pick up as an essence which can be applied in the present to make our future better? That should be the only perspective. There's no point in accumulating historical facts. A lot of people who accumulate historical facts, that's not what we want. As far as spiritual journey is concerned, some essence which is relevant for the present, which can be utilized for the future journey. If we can pick up that kind of a thing, that will be very useful for our spiritual journey, no matter which book you actually read. So, anyway, interesting. And sister got that message regarding that Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada. Okay, good. Thank you. Pa.
Okay. I think we did all the central region. We were near, I think we left it here. No, I think we were here. 1 minute. I will just I'm sharing it, right, already? Are you able to see it?
Yes, brother.
You shared the X already.
I shared the X, so let's move on. And so these are some of the things we discussed last class as well. So just taking you through that, just bear with me for 1 or 2 slides. So this central region, that's a place of the liberated soul. Sorry. Any questions? Or okay. Possible to access even during through the possible to access even during life, that is as we are living on earth, and through our system, that is yogic transmission. Complete mergence is not possible. There is a little bit of difference between God and soul. That is also a point, I think we talked about it. Then liberation is defined as establishing ourselves in complete nothingness. The first point is about that, complete nothingness. There is a freedom from birth and death cycle. I think we did talk a little bit on that. This central region is beyond all of this state, right? Maya, ego, truth, consciousness, all of that. And Raja Yoga takes us to this. We also said that this is the discovery of central region was through Lalaji Maharaj, and because of him, we have access to that. And this whole chapter is anyway still explaining, Babuji explaining how the central region looks like. So let's move on. These we knew it, so I just wanted to cover quickly. I think from here is where we'll start. There's a concept of a master cell. When we looked at those fish eggs kind of a structure, Babuji also writes about a master cell. So master cell is something which is bigger and brighter than the rest of the cells, right? And that is directly connected with the world we live in, and all other cells are formed afterwards. He gives an example of just now we had the Deepavali, the flower pot, right? So the flower pot, when it bursts, when you light it up, you get one ray of strong, probably the light that goes in, and there are so many other lights that are coming in. So he says the master cell is like that. The first one that came out, that came out just after the show, that energy created, or that energy was absorbed, and what is called as the master cell got created there, right? And from there, the rest of the cells got created. Rest of the cells, or there is a difference between master cells and the rest of the egg cells. Let's keep it like that for now. And what is a bigger thing is we are connected to that first master cell, and that's why we have actually the power that comes from that show is also kind of embedded within us. That is the people who are living on this planet. So that is one of the reasons why Earth is also a very special place. Um, I'll come to that second point first. So if you look at the slide, first is we talked about it's connected with our world. Show led to creation. We have been talking about it in this book. Force or power rushed out, forming egg-like thing. The first outcome of that was a master cell, and that master cell is a powerhouse for other smaller cells also. Right? That is the example. He also gives an example of, say, there is a, what do you call, on a water, there are bubbles, like there is a big bubble and a small bubble. So there is connection between the big and the small bubble, right? Imagine there is one very big bubble which is a master cell, all others could be a smaller. That is also again, I think Babuji is explaining the one which is difficult to explain, right? Giving all analogies and something that he is able to visualize, he's telling it. So again, don't think that there is a fish head, don't think that there is a bubble. It is just for an explanation. That is that. Now, Earth is also a special place. He says that because we are connected with that master cell which came directly from the show, there is always great personalities that are born from right from the yogic times. There are plenty of examples, probably as yogis, who could not just control this world but control other worlds as well. That's why Earth, being on Earth, is kind of a special thing. And he also talks about the current special personality. He always refers to that special personality, right? So he talks about it that he's the only person like that in this universe, and he has, because he's the closest to the center. Remember, he's doing the nature's work, and he's a special personality, and only one of that kind will be available at any given time. So that kind of personality he's talking about. The person can appear, I'm just quoting from the book, can appear in the sun, moon, in the astral form, anywhere, anytime he likes. And also his presence is stretched in the entire godly empire, but the godly region, though his physical body is in one place. So that is important. Maybe the physical body is on earth, but then his essence or his whole thing is stretched across. Consciousnness is probably available wherever it is. So this is the significance, or imagine how such a big personality exists, and who's kind of responsible for doing the nature's work. It's really amazing. If you really read through that, you'll really understand. But great way of explaining that. So master cell we got, and Earth's special part is what we have understood. Next, let's move on to the next one. Again, if you have questions, please make a note of it. Let's all take questions towards the end so that I'll get a chance to finish the slides. So just in the interest of time. Next, I picked up an image. If you look at this bald figure on the right side, I picked up an image from the internet just to show what is an occipital prominence. So first disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a poor engineer. So if you have so many questions on that, I think there are lots of people in the room who can answer. And also let's not split hairs on the bald guy, right? It is, don't worry about the picture so much. It is just that the occipital prominence is the location of that is shown in this picture. What Babuji is saying here is there is a quote that God created man in his own image. That is there across all the texts, religious texts. So don't think that, again, in his own image means it's not like physical. Physical like the flesh and the bones, exactly like what I'm looking is what God is looking. Nothing to do with that. All it means is the essence or the power of the nature is in all of it, all of us actually, all of the man, or man means human beings that has been created. So the power that is there in the nature is also with us. Now, how is that? The 13th point, that occipital prominence, is where there is a connection to the central region, and that is the connection with the real thing that is there. So that connection he's talking about. And in physical aspect also, he says that there is a pulpy substance in that occipital prominence side, which is very less than a hair's breadth. Imagine how small it could be, less than a hair's breadth, like a pulpy substance. This is the physical appearance I'm talking, not the central region. But he's saying the place on the brain is also like that. It is also color is gray dawn, some faint reflection. He also says that there is some egg-like things actually found materially near this point also. So imagine Babuji having clear vision of the physical anatomy part also. So that's so amazing, right? So that is what is being told in this book, and that portion obviously is connected to the master cell. That is where we talked in the previous slide. So the question was, or if you want to understand that 13 point is in sync with the central region that is on the back of the head. Now, there is also one more topic or one more concept that Babuji talked, that is the third eye. He says he will not tell the description of the third eye, but he just says it is just below the central region. So I'm just going to keep it like that, just below the central region, destructive eye, and havoc can be brought. Havoc means it's obviously a lot of destructions can be caused, and in some other text also we had, probably understood that during the Mahabharata war, Krishna had opened it, and and actually he was destroying all the evil powers. Lord Krishna was destroying evil powers 24 hours before it actually happened. Isn't that amazing? Like it's through his willpower already. It's like work is already done, and actually physically the work may happen the next day through the warriors, but Lord Krishna had already done it, and he had opened the third eye. And he also says, Babuji also says, similar situation is developing. And when it is required, the personality will have the powers to do what is required by the nature as the orders is, or if the nature orders, then the third eye will be opened up. So the third eye means basically the definition is it's a destructive eye. And see, such is the power that is there, very much near the central region. Even that power is there. And I don't think anybody other than the special personality will have access to it. But he's not talked much about it, about the location, but just wanted to talk, say to us that there is something called a third eye also. Next, let us move on. Raja Yoga and the Master, right? So Raja Yoga, it's almost we are coming to the end of the slides here. So end of those chapters. Babaji says Raja Yoga can be practiced in many ways. Well, remember, the book is about Sahaj Marg, right? The efficacy of the Raja Yoga in the light of Sahaj Marg. So he says there could be many ways, but the method that has been described so far is the most benefiting. And you can also, we all keep talking about, whether the how to find a person who is of that caliber, masters of the caliber. So for that, he gives a very easy technique that whenever you are very if there is a master that you're looking for in physical world, if you're very near, you observe how your heart is feeling. Do you feel peace? Do you feel like little bit carefree? Do you feel some of the things are like no stress? You don't feel heaviness in the heart. Those are some of the observations you can make and figure out that you are with the right master. You are with the right master of the caliber. You don't have to ask people, or your heart itself can answer all those questions, and the effect is automatic. That is, the master need not tell anything, just his mere presence will have some impact on the person who is really looking for one. So that is and there's nothing like a force or exerting himself. All those things need not happen. So what in essence it's trying to say here is our Sahaj Marg is the easiest method, though there are different ways of Raja Yoga. And also, if you want to reconfirm that the masters in our system, I am interpreting it like that, you can absolutely test in the initial stages. Even today, people say you can go and test, right? So if there are situations where you're near the physical master, how do you feel? You have to observe what are the feelings you get or the sittings that you take. So there are different ways to do that. I think that is the interpretation. And then this system is not going to force you anything. So there is no stress to the mind. in fact, mind becomes quieter and quieter. So suppose you're embarking on a system of Raja Yoga here, which is creating a lot of undue stress to you. You have to do this, you have to do that, or unnecessary things. So over a period of time, if your stresses are is accumulating, then probably you're not in the right path. Okay. He's not talked about Raja Yoga, he's also talked about things like hypnotism, mesmerism. All of that also can be used. Hypnotism, that science where you can bring the mind to a standstill. But what is the effect of that? Effect of that is you'll really feel, you don't feel lighter after that. You actually may feel very heavy, you may have some headache, all of those things are there. So we are not forcing, which we all know as we are meditators for quite some time, we are not forcing the mind to be still. It should happen, it should stand still on its own. So that is what it is. And this method, because it is sahaj, it's a natural way of doing that, it will happen over a period of time. And a very big statement or very famous statement, you can pick up pearls only if you dive deep into the ocean, that you can introspect or contemplate on it. So what is the ocean here? Obviously the heart. One who goes deeper is who can pick up the pearls, who can pick up the jewel, whatever good things that you want in life. So that means observe, go deeper. All of that is what is mentioned. So next, let me go to the next one. So this is like again a summary of this chapter alone. Central region is the highest human achievement, state of pure potentiality beyond attributes, and ultimate destiny of the yogi in Sahaj Marg path. So that concludes central region in a way. So we talked about various things. Today we talked about master cell, and also what other, where is the physical availability of the central region in our physical anatomy, right? Where is it located and all of that. So that concludes this chapter. I'll also take a few minutes to go through the conclusion part. Conclusion is a chapter itself, right? And it is not necessarily about the summary of all the things that we have covered. Babuji has written slightly different things. So let me go through this. Again, please mark your questions. We'll come to the questions at the end. So first thing is, Babuji has he has written that he's written this book from his anubhava, from his experience. That is probably it is in his own vision. He's got all of this and he's written. And so he says people are very much welcome to go and check it out on their own. So that is what he writes initially, and says it's such a wonderful system that we have. But how do we progress well, or what are the things that we have to keep in mind? If you have a question like that, this slide will answer that. If you have one secret of how to be successful in this path is meditation. Meditation is the only secret. There is no other way you can reach the central region and beyond whatever we are talking about. So meditation is the foundation of spirituality. If you're doing something else, that means that may not be a spirituality, right? So you have to think about that statement. Secret is meditation. Meditation is the foundation of spirituality. I thought it's a good statement, so I just wanted to put it in a slide here. Now let's look at some external forces. Sometimes he says there are some external forces in life, or look at forces as external factors. Some of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, how does it help us to be in spirituality? If that question comes, Babuji has written 2-3 things here. One is absolutely related to food. We also have things related to food in our maxim. We have to be in a prayerful mood, express gratitude, and think of him while we eat. That is the eat part of it. But here he's talking about food. That is, I mean, typically when we talk about food in modern times, it should be hygienic. Basic thing is hygiene, right? It should be clean. It should be well cooked. It should be a good environment where it is cooked. That is a given. We are not even debating that. Nobody will eat dirty food, but clean and neat cooking is a given. But on top of it, if you add that extra thing as cooking the food in the constant remembrance of God, that is something that is going to give you a different, state altogether. And he also says that some spiritual diseases can be cured if you do that. That is while cooking itself, you have to cook in the remembrance of God. And we in the modern times we have also not really modern, I think in India also, right, because of all this casteism and the ill effects of whatever you know I mean it's all misunderstanding, I would say, that if somebody touches the food, it becomes impure. All these things, some set of people do it. That is really ridiculed by Babuji in this. He says that doesn't make any sense. It is even how do you know the person who's touching might be more spiritual than you are? So touching, don't worry about touch and all of that. It is more about how you are eating, how you are cooking. That is where you have to focus on. There is a specific quote from Swami Vivekananda, which I have not, put it as is, but I've kind of quoted in between, saying that if you look at my last point here, there are some things even before this quote, but main thing is nowadays all of this religion is entirely driven to kitchens. That is, we are mostly about kitchen. This how to offer the food, how to keep it. We do it in a very close quarters. Nobody's touching it. Those kinds of things is what Pomikanda is talking. He says very nicely that the special kind of lunacy and those who pin their souls will more likely go to the lunatic asylum than to Brahmaloka. So he's completely chided off. He's saying that if you do all of this, you're basically a lunatic. Nothing to do with, nothing to do with spirituality. So good food for thought, even for us in a way. How to make it better? One thing is food. You have to eat a food which is cooked in a constant remembrance, and also eat in his remembrance. You should eat it. That is the second aspect. Next external force from the book is restraint in thought. Practice restraint. This is a very important point, I think, but not so easy also, right? So you make sure that whatever you're thinking, whatever you're acting, do not hurt others. Even if you think that you have that one-upmanship, like you dominated somebody in a conversation, completely destroyed him. That's what they say sometimes, right? But all that is not really good, because it will spoil your own heart. And if there is no restraint in thought and also the words that you're speaking, the reaction, even if you think nothing happened to me, there will be some impressions. Obviously, those impressions on the consciousness, samskaras, all of that will create. So one of the things to practice is, this is more about character. That was about food. This is more about restraint in thought. If you don't have to speak, don't speak. There are so many other things that Babuji or Lalaji also have written. Speak minimum. Don't have to speak all the time. All those things also come into picture here. Restraint in thought is one more external force which will help you towards spirituality. Then the other one is optimism. I defined it as optimism. Always look at the bright side of things. Always don't go with a negative approach. You may think, after reading this, say all these regions so vividly described, oh, I will never be able to go to this, forget it, I can't do this. Don't go with that negative approach. This is open to all human beings, and we have a system and a master who is ready to take you there. So why are you actually going down the negative path? So don't allow negative feelings. Only one thing that is essential is the iron will. Iron will, that I will do it. So because how do you do this? All of this is through goals, right? We have that goal setting. All of that is there. But always be optimistic. You can achieve it. Never allow the negative thought that it will not happen come to your mind. So there is a word that he uses, that is feeling of despondency, right? Despondency means like hopelessness almost. I don't think I can do it. All these kinds of things. You should not even entertain. So one of the things that human beings has done is, we have made our own lives more complicated than what it has to be. That's what he writes. Babuji writes. He says that just to lift a small pin which is lying on the ground, we are trying to use cranes. That means if God is very simple, He is very easy to access. But we are creating so many rituals, we are creating so many unnecessary thoughts in our mind, we are making it more complex, and then we are lost. So the problem is with us, not with the God. So again, the way we have to look at it is Sahaj Marg is a very simple, easy to approach, easy to do system for the modern life. So that way, he's saying that just following the system, you are in the right path. You don't have to worry about all of this. But luckily, most of us who are in this path, I don't think we'll get into all of this despondency and all of this because of the. I think once you are enthusiastic, start going into the system, doing your part, most of us will come out lively and come out positive. I think if you can mute, that'll be good. I see some background noise. Yeah. Now, just to say our system is simple, Babuji is again, all these points you know it, but still he's written it saying that meditation upon heart is the easiest way under the guidance of a capable master. Who is a capable master? That might be a question. So he answers it immediately in the next line, saying that capable master is the one who has attained perfection and he has a capacity within him, he has a capacity of transmission. So if he has attained perfection, he's staying in that central region all the time, and then with him has a capacity of transmission. He is a capable master or a master of caliber. So what happens is with the master, the greatest thing is the waves. He uses the word spiritual waves. That is part of some of the transmissions that you receive. Especially once you are connected to the master, you need not be physically near him, but once you have that connection, that waves continue to make enter your heart. So what is the important thing about those waves? It is working while you don't even know. It actually is doing some work in the background. It's like a background process. It is always on. So it keeps, when you practice, it keeps you calm day by day. So there will be improvements. You will have peaceful days, peaceful nights because of this transmission, because of the practice that we're doing. And obviously, if you add this devotion element to it, the devotion is going to increase. It's like an accelerator. Without devotion, it may look a little dry, but devotion to the master and all of that increases our capacity to absorb. It makes it easy. The whole way becomes much easier. Okay, so what we have to understand is heart is the place where we are allowing the masterly force, whatever is the transmission to happen, the magic to happen. We are allowing, remember that we are allowing, we are not putting up artificial barriers or having our own imagination. So we are just allowing the transmission to have an effect on our heart. What does it do? It just expands. It expands our consciousness. And finally, that helps us in the journey. So these are salient features of our method. But he has explained it saying that why is it simple and how the simplicity helps us and how a capable master helps us. That is also an important point. Again, special personality. I mean, he's talked about it, but a person who's fixed themselves in the heart region can accomplish everything using willpower. He uses an example that whatever the modern guys want to do using their arms, like you have a gun, you have something that you are firing, much bigger than that, you can just do with the power of thought. So again, remember when we started this book, the Raja Yoga basis is the thought, right? Thought power is what we are ultimately utilizing. So a yogi of caliber with just a thought can accomplish so much. Even a normal guy, normal person with a gun will not be able to do it. So such is the power that you're going to ultimately possess. So that is very inspiring actually. And a special personality, about a special personality, he writes that he's always dwelling in the central region and he can accomplish with the willpower. He uses a very good word. He's neither a friend nor a foe. So it doesn't mean that. What it means is he sees everybody as equal, that equilibrium, right? That is equanimity. Maybe that is another word we can use. Equilibrium, always balanced. So everybody is same for that such a personality. Nobody is a friend, nobody is an enemy. So because they are already situated in that center, they are there in that particular state. So all these chakras, all of that is in the region of the heart. Heart region may be extending all up to 10 and beyond. Actually, beyond that, there is nothing like a chakra, but there is always all this description of the central region that we just talked about. You have to remember that. Another important thing that he says is even if the special personality loses balance, right? Always he will be in the balance. Suppose he loses the balance even for one moment, there will be some atmospheric disorder. There will be gloominess. Gloominess is, say again, you can think of it as a very gloomy. We say typically gloomy weather, right? When it's very cloudy, very dark in the morning. That kind of a, I mean, that's an example again. I'm not saying exactly it's cloudy, but very, very darkish kind of a weather will, atmosphere will start descending in the environment because the personality, even for a moment, he is not in balance. All these things will happen. They also use a word that shadowy hearts of the people will collapse. Uh, Shadowy hearts, again, the question may come. My thinking is probably that is something to do with your consciousness. Um, I mean, if that gloominess continues for a long time, it will affect the people who are there on Earth. So such is it. Such is the power of the special personality, and the consciousness that shadowy hearts probably is the I'm interpreting as consciousness. We can also see what others think, but that people will lose really. People there will be a big impact on the people. Let us put it like that. So these are all some of the revelations which are interesting. So Babaji is very nicely put it how important a special personality's view and his attitude should be. Finally, this line is also important. Iron will and constant impatience and restlessness for gaining the object bring easy success. This impatience and restlessness is also talked in the Voice Real book. If you read the first few chapters, right, he says that the entire Babaji says that his entire journey as an Abhyasi was spent as in restlessness, not in peace. He writes. So restlessness to achieve what? Restlessness to achieve that. You know, there is a sense of urgency. You want to do it quickly. So that should be there. Constant impatience. Impatience not in the material sense. Impatience from a spiritual sense. He's talking and obviously that unshakable will that I will achieve it and continue this journey. So it's all very motivating. As you know, in the conclusion part of it, Babuji is trying to say that what is essential that you have to take away from this book. Those are some of the things that he's talking. And finally, the words is Lord Krishna introduced bhakti in Raja Yoga because he said that the time was uncertain and they needed the bhakti part to be included in Raja Yoga. Till then, there was no bhakti part, is my understanding. And he also says Babuji says there is a vast difference between theory and practice. Our system is completely practical, scientific, all of that we know now. But remember, when he's writing the book, he had to tell all of this. Theory and practice is completely different. If you keep reading scriptures repeatedly, you will not go anywhere. All you can become is a philosopher. And also, we read in that Whispers today, right? So sometimes not the scriptures, but some of these stories themselves might be, added on. A lot of things they have added. Really, it may not be exactly what has happened. But leave that apart. Some people keep repeating the same thing over and over again. That will not lead you. You are not going to be a yogi. You are not going to be a spiritual guy. You will just become a philosopher. That's all. You can only become a yogi by actual practice. Again, practice means practical approach, which Sahaj Marg is providing. And you have to approach it with love and devotion. It is not like you're doing it for the sake of somebody else. You have that goal, you have that inner cry, and you're doing it with love. So that makes it more interesting. The journey also makes it interesting. And he says in the end, practical things is very difficult to put it in words. So if you look at it in central region, I mean, I keep getting to that example, fish eggs part. So something like that analogy Babuji has written beautifully, but all that is because he is seeing something, but he has to explain, or he's feeling something, he has to explain. So that he's used beautiful analogies. But in reality, whatever you're feeling is difficult to put it in words. So it's always an approximation. You have to feel yourself. Let us put it like that. And They say the taste of wheat, sometimes they say taste of the mango, or how does the sugar taste? You cannot really describe it. I mean, if you don't know the word sweet, how will you describe sugar? Very difficult. So that's the kind of statement he makes. Again, I've put in a last lines, which was very good. Always come with faith. That is, it's a call to the Abhyasis who are practicing Sahaj Marg. Come with faith and confidence in the spiritual field and be prepared for the practice. So it's not going to come easy. You have to be prepared for the practice, and you have to throw off all self-conceited ideas. Self-conceited is some of the things that you have your own make-up ideas about. It could be about an entity called God. It could be about somebody else. All those makings, all those coverings that you have created, you should be ready to throw it off. So that much flexibility you need to have, and also you have should have the patience to practice. So these are some of the calling for action, if I can say from Babuji. Those are some of the final words from this book. Okay, and maybe the last thing he says in this book is, may the day dawn when people will stand to realize the accuracy of what has been said above. I thought it is a very striking. So he writes all of this in a book, and the last line is this. So, of course, we as Abhyasis are coming in, I mean, following him in this journey, and obviously, he's wishing that all of us realize this and feel whatever is written. Yes, I felt. Suppose you're feeling something which has already been described by Babuji. That is a great validation for him. So absolutely, he's wishing that all of us rise to that occasion and go pretty much higher in our approach. Thank you, and that kind of completes the book. We can unmute, or any questions we can take. Yeah, I see some hands. Yes, brother, one by one.
Brother, in this book, Babuji has written that the personality has already come to earth to make changes.
Uh-huh.
And because he was writing this book in 1944, when the World War II was taking place, I think that personality must be Babuji himself. What you are
Right,
saying.
absolutely. Correct. He is referring himself in third
And he
third
says
person.
in some pages that Mahabharata time, Krishna opened the third eye, and now the time has come to do that one. May not
Right.
be to that extent, but it has to be done to destroy some evil things. He is writing in the 1944, year 1944. That means he was also a part of in the, what you say, this World War II, Babuji. Like
Okay.
Krishna
You
was
are
in
referring to
Mahabharata,
that.
like Babuji must have been in that World War II.
Okay. You are referring whether that eye was opened during World War II.
Yeah,
Is that
yes,
what you
yes.
are saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, see, all these revelations, you can only put one plus one together. He's not written like that. But then, yes,
Yeah,
maybe even today the evils might be on. Maybe who knows that it may be open even now. We don't know, or it may get opened sometime later also. So I don't have a comment on that. But yes, you can interpret it like that.
because in the note in 204, in that book, it was written that it was being written in 1944.
Correct.
Though it
It's
was
written in
published in
1944. There
1950,
is no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. But I am just telling, he didn't say anything about World War. That is
yeah.
probably your interpretation. And it could be true
Brother,
also. We don't know. Yeah, brother. Next, anybody
brother,
else? Mhm.
brother,
Yes, go ahead. Please go ahead. Are you able to hear me?
No, brother, just take off the screen share.
Okay. We'll know who's calling now.
Now better,
Fine.
easier.
Okay, it's better. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, brother Kishore.
Brother,
Okay.
masterly force in our heart that expand inside result in long run we find ourselves stretching throughout the godly empire.
Which one, brother?
This
Okay, what is the
uh,
question? That's good question. Then we can, yeah.
how the Abhyasis feel this condition.
Mm-hmm.
The godly force in our heart expanding. We begin to expand inside with the result that in long run we find ourselves stretching throughout the godly empire. How the Abhyasis feel this condition inside his heart.
That is a consciousness is what I mean, expanding throughout, right? You will feel whatever. I mean, if you look at central regions, description, what all things you feel nothingness, all of that, right? That could also be a. I mean, you'll see a spectrum of things if you're expanded anywhere. So how to? It's a very narrow question as to it's not like two three things that you feel. It could be a lot of things because you're stretched from the entire godly empire. So all of the characteristics that you looked at in every region that will be applicable, is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, brother.
And I think there is a elasticity of the consciousness. Maybe brother Raghu, you can add to that also, right? I'm thinking personality of that caliber can go to any level, right? In the sense like to any consciousness level, because he's spread everywhere in the creation, and will be able to understand everything at once, what is going on. So that is also there. So how to feel, meaning that would be probably two, three things that I can think of. That could possibly be the condition at that time.
In fact, you can actually feel the expansion. So the expansion that Babuji is talking about is something that can be felt during the course of the sitting meditation. Not only it can be felt during the course of the meditation, it can also be felt outside. I'll just give you one simple small story. Vivekananda is asked to meditate on one side of the shore of Ganga river. And as and when he meditates, after some period of time, he comes back to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and reports that I'm able to clearly hear what people are talking on the other shore of river Ganga. Obviously, he's sitting on this side, and if you look at river Ganga in Calcutta, it's pretty broad actually. It's actually flowing with a lot of force. And Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says at that time, don't meditate for a few days. Now you might wonder, why did he give that suggestion? The reason why he gave the suggestion was he wanted Ramakrishna Paramahamsa wanted Vivekananda's consciousness, which has now expanded. See, when we actually start meditation, we restrict our consciousness to the body. And we feel that our consciousness is within the confines of the body. As we progress, that is entirely the thing that you progress through in the Pinda Pradesh. That is why it is called as Pinda Pradesh. Pinda means related to the body. So anything and everything that happens, you relate it to the body. The individual mind, you are more worried about the workings of your body. The individual consciousness. So as you come to the Brahmand Mandal and then through the course of the mind region, your consciousness is now gradually becoming more and more unlimited. The consciousness in the Pinda Pradesh is limited. Now, the question might come, can we feel the expansion? The answer is an emphatic yes. Many Abhyasis report feeling that expansion. And in fact, one of the Abhyasi who has not read the book used the same sentence that is there in the book. I felt I was touching all over the sky everywhere. I felt I was only there. Nobody else is there. So don't think that these are all theoretical descriptions. These are all practically verifiable experiences. So the answer is yes, clear yes. So in other words, you move from individual consciousness in the Pinda Pradesh to universal consciousness through the course of the mind region. Then again, as you enter into the central region, the consciousness merges back into its potentiality, which is nothing but awareness. So you have four realms in which we actually progress before we end up reaching the reality. The first level is in the Pinda Pradesh, which is related to individual consciousness. The second realm is related to the mind region, relating to the universal aspect of our existence. And the third realm is the central region, where we are relating to the awareness aspect of our existence. And in the end, as we enter into the center and align with the center, we enter into state of unawareness. So looked at from the context of consciousness and awareness, you have these four stages. Highest state of unawareness, followed by the state of awareness, then followed by the consciousness, which is universal in nature, followed by individual consciousness. These are the four stages that we actually progress. And our experiences as we pass through these four levels of our journey will be different. Maximum expansion is felt when we cross from Pinda Pradesh into the Brahmanda Mandal. That is when expansion is very vividly felt. Most of the Abhyasis report. And don't be surprised even if you were to kind of experience the same thing, because I'm just quoting by example of the Abhyasis who come for sitting. Many of them have actually reported expansion. So it can be very clearly felt. Okay. So you can stop the answer there. I think that probably should cover how it feels like. Obviously, as you go through the expansion of the consciousness, depending on the region in which you are, you will have other experiences. So expansion per se will not give you a clue where the work is occurring. It will give you a clue that the work is occurring in the universal aspect of the consciousness. To that extent, it will tell you. But beyond that, which point in that universal consciousness is the work occurring, we will only get to know with the other experiences that we grasp or the conditions that we grasp as we pass through different levels of universal consciousness. Okay? Okay, Kishore.
Okay, brother. Thank you, brother.
Good evening, brother. Brother, this regarding the spiritual personality, special personality, sorry. I was wondering, like, this is quite astonishing, right? Because that person, though you have already shared, I think in previous talks also, he's one who's closest to center, which I was thinking, meaning which is also like he's much higher than God, right? Because realm of God in the 10th point, or I think I remember somewhere you were saying like even he crosses those things. So can you share a few more things? And also the another slide where it was mentioning by the will application of the will, he can do anything whatever he wants. So I was also quite wondering how, meaning how in the sense, meaning though he can do everything, but generally he will not do, right? Because I remember Daji somewhere saying like that will be like a spiritual rape if we are doing on someone forcefully, which he is not willing for. So I was thinking like there are many, so to say, on physical level issues which master also face, maybe in running or but many things he will leave opportunities for us to grow up and try to evolve, be it donations for example, or anything where we are system related things. So it would be good if you can enlighten a little bit more on the spiritual, this special personality.
Yes, my brother, you want to add something?
Okay, special personality. One aspect I thought while you were asking the question, brother, is I mean, it's like the orders of the nature that he's doing, right? There is no individual mind there. So that is one important point. It is not like I want to do something and I'm doing without the orders of the nature. So you're in such a state that you don't exist. So you are just living for the nature's, I mean, orders of the nature pass through you is what he has written. So that should be kept in mind. I think at that level we should not compare to our level of living. It's not correct. There's a different level of living. And also you said about there is, I think there is a, I mean, my view is there is a checks and balance. Like, the master looks at you and he can, without your willingness, he can bring you to perfection. That's possible, but maybe there is checks and balance in all of that. Sometimes I have also read that in one transmission may, if you give such a power, the physical body may collapse. So is that the objective? No, right? You'll have to give it in dose, and that the nature knows about it. So there is checks and balances which will prevent even those special personalities. I mean, whatever happens, it's automatic. It's not like you can do or go against that. That is my view on that. But anything more on special personality, whether Raghu can also take it. Yeah.
One or two more points. One brother was commenting about Babaji doing the work in 1944 during Second World War, and what he said was correct. Babaji was authorized. In fact, not only Babaji, few other people were authorized to work on different countries during the Second World War. Likewise, that process of working on different countries continues because it's a spiritual work that you are doing. In fact, if you read the 44 Whispers, almost 18 days before Gandhiji is killed, Vivekananda comments in the 1944 Whispers, almost 18 days before, that Gandhiji is going to be shot dead. Okay, the date is quoted, you can check that. Likewise, the change in Hyderabad, the Nizam of Hyderabad, giving way to a different kind of an administration, is also quoted almost 3 years before the event actually occurred. In other words, what we need to learn is that as you go through 1944 Whispers, there are many rishis and many saints of the past who are at work to mend the conditions on earth. We just now read the Whispers where Babuji was talking about various things occupying, corrupting the atmosphere on earth. A special personality is somebody who is going to be in charge till the end of this particular yuga. In fact, in one of the messages, Babaji says that he's already made plan up to Mahapralaya. What needs to happen, who's going to do what up to Mahapralaya, the end of this creation. And all the work has been designated already, given to different people to take care of different parts of that particular cycle. Of course, you have to remember that creation is a dynamic thing. When we talk about creation, it's always in flux. So there are forces which are kind of taking the conditions to a worse state, and there are forces which are making the conditions better for everyone. And that also was mentioned in the whisper that if all the Abhyasis were to practice regularly, they can actually make the situation better for everyone. So when Babuji started the work of bringing about the change, see now just look at another thing. Although America has not yet declared itself as bankrupt as yet, but it's on the verge of it. And Babuji writes in My Vision that America will go bankrupt. Now the question is, I was just reading about what happens to the currencies, what happened to the big empires over the last 2000 years. We've had four big empires. All of them follow the same pattern. And we are now almost on the verge of the collapse of the Western Empire, American Empire. Something new is going to come up. So this is a cyclical thing. If you look at wave theory, everything has a cycle. And in nature, there are short cycles, there are broader cycles, and there are very, very broad cycles, which spans decades or which spans centuries. And that's what we are looking at. So he continues to work till the end of this Mahapralaya. So you got a master who's created a system to which all other great spiritual personalities have contributed, which is going to flourish as we go forward. To just give you a very simple analogy on that, when Jesus was around, he only had 15 disciples, and one of them turned out to be somebody who stabbed his back and got him caught. But then Christianity actually picked up 300 years after Jesus passed away. Not based on all the magics that Jesus showed while he was alive, but based on some of the principles that he had actually spoken about. In fact, if you look at the Christian history, Jesus' own life history, there's a big chunk of his life which is missing. Roughly around between 10 and 30 years, for about 20 years, his life is missing. Nobody knows where he was, what he was doing. And there are some references to Jesus in many of the Tibetan monasteries. In Kashmir monastery, there is a mention of the word Isai, who had been there and who stayed there and then who actually studied there. A Western, it's very clearly documented that Western thing was there, a Western disciple was there for a significant period of time. Now, why we're talking about is that this particular system that you are now following, we are only still in the nascent stage of this particular system. We still have a long way to go in terms of this system expanding. In fact, at one point of time, 1944 whispers, Lalaji writes that this is the only system that's going to exist after some period of time. Every other system is going to get merged into this particular system. Not because of something great, it's just that it is so simple and easy to follow by anybody. So it's the simplicity that makes it likely that it's going to flourish. Of course, our system mission will also have its own challenges. There will be times when it's not going to be conducive. For example, if you read the whispers of late in the 2000s, Babaji writes that it's not the time for the mission to flourish in France because of the way that things are happening. So you will have periods where it might not be very conducive for the mission to flourish in certain countries because of the very nature of the administration there. But eventually, this system is going to spread because this is like the highest, even beyond the Vedanta. Vedanta is the sixth darshana, and Sahajamārga is like the seventh darshana. It's a refined, further refinement of the Vedanta. It is very simple, it is very natural, people can follow wherever they are, in whichever part of the world. And it's backed by the master with the power of transmission. So the most easiest path to be ever, what we say, discovered or invented by human beings in terms of going back towards the center. So for these reasons, this will continue to flourish. And the backer of this flourishment is the special personality. Daji writes in his heartfulness way that this entire system is based on the Guru. If the Guru is not there, then this system is like any other system. If the Guru with the transmission power is not there, it's like any other system. So, anyway, that should be enough. That special personality is continuously at work. So just remember that, and he will be at work till the end of the this yuga. Okay.
Thank you,
Brother, in your slides, brother, you have mentioned something about the spiritual diseases. What are spiritual diseases?
I think, brother, you can answer it, brother.
Now, I was about to pass the question to you, saying that if it is a physical and mental illness, a doctor can answer. Anyway, see, very simple. What is a spiritual disease? The spiritual disease is that anything in excess, even good thing in excess, can be an impediment for your spiritual journey. And that good thing that is in excess is a spiritual disease. So, very simple example, you always want to say truth. And you know that you are going to say this truth to this person, this fellow is going to die. And under those circumstances, you insist that I am going to tell the truth because that's what I want to be like. And you know the consequence, this fellow is going to go. Now, if you go ahead and tell the truth in that particular context, it's a spiritual disease. Suppose you feel like helping others, and you want to help others to such an extent that you are happy to take n number of loans and neglect your own family, and you want to help everybody else. Now, that's a spiritual disease. I have one patient who had come in the afternoon. That person was talking about always trying to help her parents to the detriment of her own health and her own well-being. That's a spiritual disease, right? So anything in excess where it can be an impediment for your spiritual journey can be connoted as a spiritual disease. So even the goodness should be moderated. Okay. Now everything that is created in nature has its role. Today morning we were talking about, suppose a tiger comes in front of you, and the natural reaction is either you fight with it or you actually take a flight. Now suppose you freeze in front of it, what is going to happen? Is it going to be something that's going to be beneficial as far as your journey is concerned? No. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that anybody who eats too much, anybody who doesn't eat, they cannot be a yogi. Anybody who sleeps too much and a person who does not sleep only, they cannot be a yogi. Moderation in everything. That is the crux. If we want to go to the center, it's not that we want to suppress many unnecessary things. No. We want to bring everything into moderation. Okay. So that is one thing you have to watch out for as you progress from the first point to higher points. Are you developing moderation as a trait? And that moderation should be such that it should be effortless moderation, not an effortful moderation. If the effortless moderation is developing, then that is one of the signs that yes, you are progressing spiritually. Anything that you have in excess should gradually come down. Okay.
Thank you.
One last small point just to finish this particular answer. Initially, we are behind experiences. Okay. Now, many people after the meditation session is over, the first thing they say is, I didn't have any special experience today. This is what they say. Okay. Now, the second thing is, after experience, you want to learn from the experience. This is the second stage. So, experience and then learning from the experience, second stage. When you move on to the third stage, you now let go of the experience. You just keep the learning. As you go to the fourth stage, where you start aligning to the center, you feel that even learning is a backlog that you are actually carrying. So you want to let go of the learning. So at that stage, you get established in the state of unawareness. So first stage is experience. So you are looking for spiritual experiences. Likewise, people who are in material realm, they are looking for material experiences. And people are behind new experience. What they are looking for is not new experience. What they are looking for is newness in experience. And that people confuse with new experience. So a person who is in the sixth point will say, I want newness in experience. They don't change their routine. But in the same routine that they do every day, they feel newness. But for a person who is in the first point, that newness of the experience gets converted into a new experience. So they go in search of a new experience. That's when people go out to the resorts or go for bungee jumping, do all kinds of things, putting themselves to risk. Because they are behind new experience versus newness in experience. Okay, a person who is in the first point, who is behind a new experience, is called as a Manushya. Why is he called as a Manushya? He is a human being with an Ayushya. Ayushya is a certain amount of life. Manushya is a man with Ayushya. Okay. Now, as you go to the sixth point, you become Manava. From Manushya, you go to Manava. From human to humane. What is that Manava? Nava means new. One who is engrossed in newness in every stage of their life is a Manava. Man immersed in newness. Okay. So, very small difference as far as words is concerned. New experiences versus newness in experience. Very few, small difference, but a world of difference as far as experience is concerned. Okay. Then you go further. You want to just learn from any experience. You are not averse to any experience, but you want to learn from the experience. But you pass through a stage where you want to hold on to the experience also, learnings also. At some point of time, the nature will create a situation where it asks you one simple question. Either you want to hold the experience or you want to hold on to the learning of the experience. You have to choose. You don't have space for both. Then you are forced to make the choice of letting go of the experience, and you are happy with the learnings from the experience. But as long as you learn from the experience and you still hold on to the learning, you cannot enter into the central region. At that stage, nature will say, now you can only enter into the central region if you let go of the learning. Then you enter into the central region. Okay, so hope it's kind of answered the whole range.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Shrikant?
The heartfulness way, Master, under prayer, Master writes about Yoga Nidra, where he mentions that yogi of caliber achieves deep sleep and simultaneously does astral travel to work in different dimensions, in different times, and in different locations.
What's the question?
So, yeah, I mean, I found that to be really fascinating. So, I just wanted to share that.
We spoke about it last time. See, when we are in a waking state, we have the remembrance of the deep sleep state and the dream state. You remember that we spoke about it last session. Spiritual journey is to practice in such a way that when you go into Shushupti, your heart is awake with the remembrance of the dream state and the waking state. So you are basically reversing the cycle. As of now, you are in a waking state, but you can remember deep sleep state and dream state. But spiritual journey is reversing this equation. You are in deep sleep state, Shushupti. But in that state, the heart is still awake and is able to remember what is happening in the waking state and in the dream state. How does it become possible? By enhancing the awareness. It's the awareness. As and when the consciousness expands, awareness also expands. So as we have awareness during the waking state, the same awareness now gradually expands into the dream state and to the deep sleep state. That is the real spiritual journey. This is something that is written by Lalaji in Truth Eternal. So when we go through that particular book, we will discuss about some of these aspects. But it's a very, very simple definition. That's why being awake in sleep state, what people say is people who are not spiritual, they are awake but asleep during the waking state. What is spirituality is you are asleep but awake, wide awake. So that is the spiritual, the contrast between these two. Okay, there are many other things. Yoga Nidra that Daji has spoken about. He is maintaining that awareness across all the three states. Only when we maintain the awareness across all the three states, we will then become eligible to enter into the state of self-realization or the fourth state of consciousness, which is the Turiya. You touch the realm of the Turiya. Okay? Okay. Next question. So finished all the questions. So everyone thorough with efficacy of Raj Yoga. Jaisima brother has coached you in such a way that wherever you are going to go, you are going to get Jaya. That's why his name is Jai Simha.
Oh, I hope so. I want them to be successful.
So good. Any other thoughts or comments? Because we are now going to close this book and then move on to the Towards Infinity. And I'll just give you a glimpse of what is in store. As we go through Towards Infinity, we will also try to incorporate many aspects of the spiritual anatomy so that you can take both the books side by side. So we don't mind having it one or two sessions extra so that we can cover that thoroughly. So that you have a very clear conception of what is supposed to happen and how we are going to proceed. Yesterday we were just talking about all human beings have three levels of existence: the physical level, the mental level, and the spiritual level of existence before we end up with our self, the true self. Now, we are aware of what is there in the physical level, we are aware of what is there in the mental level. But very few people are aware of what is there in the spiritual level of our existence. It is the spiritual level of our existence that contains all the samskaras and all the consciousness, the entire expanse of the consciousness. Now, what does exist in the consciousness? What exists in the consciousness is all the 13 chakras that will take you up to the self. Now, what is supposed to happen? These samskaras are covering the centers of the chakras which are there in the consciousness. What is supposed to happen? In every sitting that you actually take with the preceptor, you are going to clean the samskaras. What does that do? It's going to expose the chakra. But when the chakra is exposed, it's like in a bud form. As and when you take the sittings and the samskaras are removed, the bud is now nourished by the transmission that you get in the sitting. So the bud, receiving the nourishment, starts opening up. So when the bud opens up, initially it's called as a knot. As it grows further and becomes like a partially blossomed flower, you call it as a chakra. When it goes further and fully blossom into a full-grown flower, you call that as a padma or a lotus. Now, when you actually touch the state of the bud-like state, you only feel that some work is occurring at a particular point. You are feeling some vibration, some movement, all non-specific things. But as and when the bud opens up into a kind of a little flower, partially bloomed flower, you start experiencing the conditions of that particular chakra. That's how you know. Not only you experience the conditions of that particular chakra, you start getting a bit more energy for your further expansion. Now this continues for some period of time. After that, that chakra is gradually going to become a full-blown flower. And that is the lotus. Now what happens when we come to the stage of lotus? Not only we get the mastery over the chakra, we also feel the full kind of gamut of the conditions of that particular chakra. We also gain a third thing, which is that we develop increased craving to go towards reality or the goal. That is what you have to watch out for. The more the number of chakras which are now open, more will be your craving. Or you remember the last point that mentioned, Jaisima brother mentioned, iron will, constant impatience and restlessness. Now you might wonder how to develop that constant impatience and restlessness. That is an attribute or that's an outcome of the chakras opening up naturally into the state of lotus. More the number of chakras which are flowering towards the state of lotus, more will be the craving in your heart to go towards the goal. Okay, it's not a mental restlessness. Please remember, Jaisima brother mentioned about it. It's a spiritual restlessness. It's not a mental level restlessness. No, no, no. I want to go towards the goal. I want to go towards the goal. That's not what you repeat as a thought in your mind. That's not what is going to give you the spiritual restlessness. Spiritual restlessness is some kind of a craving. It's like the craving that is felt at the bottom of the existence of a baby. When the baby cries with hunger. Now, if you ask the baby to locate the hunger, the baby is not able to locate that hunger. But it is there and it can be satisfied. Likewise, when we feel the hunger at the core of our existence, and that hunger can only be satisfied by the experience of the reality, that is the kind of spiritual restlessness that we are talking. Not mental restlessness. If they develop mental restlessness, they are going to come to us as psychiatrists. Okay? So don't worry about it. And in fact, one of the commonest symptoms that we experience in psychiatry, as we go work in a psychiatric hospital, is patients come there saying that I feel restless all the time. It's a very common symptom. But that is mental and physical restlessness. This is a spiritual restlessness. Very different. Location is different. Its experience is different. The way to be handled is different. The outcome will be different. Everything is different. Okay? Okay. Anant brother.
I was a bit reluctant to ask this question, but I'll ask anyway. When we talk of the mind region, in this book, Babaji talks about as the region of the super mind of God, or the first of the super mind of God. So do we go through the human mind region? Is there anything like that? And then we go to the super mind region?
Human mind region is the Pinda Pradesh, individual mind. So when you talk about human mind region, you are talking about the Pinda Pradesh.
Okay.
As we enter into the Brahmanda, we have now crossed the realm of the individual mind. So the individual mind now starts taking the nature and condition of the universal mind. Now we call it as Brahmandi mind, Parabrahmandi mind, and the divine mind. Now we might use different names in different regions. But one common characteristic of all these things is that it is the universal mind. So for example, a person with universal mind, I'll just give you a very simple example. Suppose you are hungry. A person with individual mind will be very keen to make sure that they get what is needed for to satisfy their hunger, and they will just be behind it. Suppose you are part of the group and none of the people in the group have actually eaten. A person whose mind is now in the universal realm will think about how can they actually satisfy the hunger of the group, which includes them. So the I is predominated by the we. Everyone is hungry. So not only that I am hungry, but everyone is hungry. So let me try to satisfy the hunger of everyone. That will be the outcome. That will be the way in which you actually look at the events that unfold in front of you. Not just about what is supposed to happen to a person. When we are thinking from that particular perspective, we are in the realm of the individual mind, which is the Pinda Pradesh. As we go from the Brahmanda Mandal up to the 13th point, all that is happening is that you are aligning the mind to universal ideas. So you're looking at universal good. You're looking at, when I say universally, that also gradually increases. When I say increases, it expands in scope. So for example, initially we might think that not only good has to happen to me, but my family also needs to experience that goodness. So now from that I, you have now moved to the we, but that we is still limited to the context of the family. Now that expands now further. So not only restricted to the family, but even non-family members in the neighborhood should also get the benefit. So there is a further expansion. Then not only people in my neighborhood should get the benefit, people in my locality should get the benefit. Now there is further expansion. So what happens is, as we move through the universal consciousness, that scope of that we gradually expands, ultimately to include the entire humanity in its scope. Now, that is still, there is a limitedness. It will then gradually expand to include everything, including animals, plants, everything, all living beings. Now, that is still limited. It will further expand. Now, living, non-living things. The entire creation of God comes under its ambit. Okay. Now, as we progress, now you might wonder what is the difference between the journey in individual mind level versus the journey in the mind region, as Babaji talks about, say between the 6th and 12th point. The ideas that you align to is what makes the difference. When we are in the Pinda Pradesh, we align to the ideas which is good for the individual. When we are in the mind region, we align to those, or we identify ourselves with those ideas which is good for the community or the group as a whole. But still, we are entangled with ideas. The only difference is, rather than being confined to the individual level ideas, you are now confined to the identification with universal ideas. But that is still an impediment, is still an impediment, whether it is an individual or universal. So before you enter into the central region, you have to learn to detach from those universal ideas also. Without it detaching from the universal ideas, you are not going to gain any entry into the central region. So when you actually look at people, just look at them and then just see what is it that their mind is occupied with. Are they occupied by things that are going to make a difference at an individual level, or are they occupied by ideas which is going to make a difference at a broader universal level? Those people who actually lead their life in such a way that they are aligned with thoughts of helping a larger group as a whole, they are in the mind region. Those people who are in the realm of individuality, they will always be thinking about the individual good, individual benefit. So many times, people who speak from the universal perspective, their views might actually be not so easily understood by the people who think from the individual perspective. There's a vast difference in the way it is felt. But eventually, we have to learn to give up all the ideas. So, for example, people identify with language, people identify with religion, people identifying with region. Now, these are all in the realm of the universal consciousness. But eventually, we have to learn to give up that also. Okay, so if you read Ramakrishna Paramahamsa life history, he never, although Vivekananda said, have pride that you are a Hindu. Okay, now that was Vivekananda's job. He was there, born for that purpose only. But his guru Ramakrishna Paramahamsa never once actually spoke about the Hindus. He had experienced Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, and multiple different, what you say, methods of approaching God in Hinduism. And he said, every path will lead to the same destination. So he never actually once identified with any particular religion. But the demand of the times was such that Vivekananda had to infuse that rajasic quality into the Hindus. Hindus had become so much steeped in tamasu. And that's when he writes whatever Jaisimha brother quoted today, no? That rather than going to Brahmaloka, you are going to end up going to a lunatic asylum. That's what Vivekananda, he is very, very terse in his comments, Vivekananda. He never spared anyone. So, the reason for that was Hinduism was the way it was practiced at that time. We were steeped in tamasu. And the job of Vivekananda was to awaken the masses to rajas. He had to make that energy flow across India. So he traveled across India. He awakened the masses. See, Vivekananda passed away, I think, if I remember the date, around 1902. 1902, if I remember. I can't remember exactly. Vaguely, I remember 1902. And then after Vivekananda came and went, you can just see how the independence movement in India took off. You had so many people come and join, and then that momentum was gained because that energy was infused at a very broad universal level into the community. So Vivekananda's work actually gives you a clue that you can actually work on a community at a universal level and make them better. And then Babaji writes in my vision that India has to rise. India is the cradle of spirituality. You cannot have spirituality across the world without India rising. Okay? But obviously, we should not confine, as we prosper in India, we should not confine our prosperity just to the material realm, like the Westerners did. We need to align that with spirituality. And Babaji's and Lalaji's job, and many other people who came, Arvind Ghosh, Babuji, Lalaji, many other people who came subsequent to Vivekananda, their job was to make sure that from Rajasu we move to Sattva and beyond. That is what you are now saying. Transformation from Rajasu to Sattva and then beyond. That is then when we say that the spiritual society is going to form, on which the entire humanity is going to thrive. And Sahaj Marg is the basis for that renaissance in the spiritual realm. That is what is going to happen. That is the plan. And I say it's a very dynamic journey. In fact, many of the things that people expected is going to happen at the turn of the century actually has been delayed by few decades. And you might wonder, why is that it's delayed by few decades? Because it's a tug of war between the good and the evil. Okay? So, always nature gives a long rope. It will give ways for human beings to mend. Only if human beings don't mend their ways in the long rope, even with the long rope, then nature's hammer is going to come and fall. And we are now, you can see what is happening in the world as of now. Big changes due to occur. Even astrologers are talking about it. Economic models are talking about it. Social models are talking about all models, whatever you can think of. Historical model, economic model, social model, astrological model, all models are actually looking at a point where we are reaching, we are kind of collapsing in certain ways of life that we have taken for granted. That is the kind of time period that we are entering into. So 25 to 2040 is a period of major upheaval to bring about certain changes in the way that human beings lead life. Human beings value life for, and that is already at work. So don't worry about few years this way, that way, but it is bound to happen. Okay. Can you think of any country or any person with billions of loans to maintain solvency for long? Is it ever possible? It is not possible. What applies to human being applies to country also. After all, a country is like a human being. There is no difference whatsoever. Okay. Anyway, our learning should be across the spectrum, across the board. So just keep your mind open. Okay.
I had one question, brother. Like, I use that shadowy heart's interpretation as consciousness. When they're saying special personality loses the equilibrium even for a moment, dullness, gloominess descends, all that he was writing.
Oh, sorry. Just unmute yourself.
Oh, you didn't even hear me?
No. That
We
exact
heard,
thing.
we heard the question somehow.
Really? I was
No.
muted, is it? Or somebody
No,
muted
no.
me?
The question was over after that you got muted.
Oh,
The question
okay.
was over.
Oh my.
Oh.
Okay.
The clue to that answer is given in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, I have nothing to do with any of the creation. But if I'm inactive even for a second, the entire creation is going to collapse. Okay? That's exactly what is going to happen if a special personality loses their balance. despondency will spread across the atmosphere, and every person who is in the atmosphere, every person who is living it, will feel that heaviness of that despondency. In other words, the special personality needs to be in the state of absolute balance. And that absolute balance can only come when they are in close alignment with the center. Okay, but I'll leave one question for you to ponder about. You know what happens? Lalaji writes in 44 whispers. See, luckily, what is happening is we are actually going through the 44 whispers with the preceptor group. So after your session, we have the 44 whispers group, and we are reading many things there. And one of the things Lalaji says is, you have had enough absorption of the center. Now I want to bring you down. Because if you are going to stay in the center and absorb the essence of the center, you are of no use to me. Because if you are in the center, what is going to happen? The center is inactive. If you absorb the essence of the center, what are you going to become? You are going to become inactive. Then what's the point of preparing you so much? You have been prepared to do nature's work. So I am now going to bring you down few points so that you can do my work. You've been prepared to do my work. So this is also something that we need to remember, that masters do not allow you to stay at the highest level all the time. They will bring you down few notches to enable their work to be done. And then the beauty is that they'll then give you the flexibility to go up and down whenever you want. And this ability to go up and down the ladder of consciousness is called as flexibility of consciousness. Okay, this is one aspect that we develop as we grow in consciousness. Okay, for example, see, you are supposed an abhyasi is come. Just imagine a situation where you are a preceptor and one abhyasi is come. You are talking to that abhyasi. Obviously, on a one-to-one basis, you have no fear, nothing of that kind. You are very comfortable. Okay. Now you are called to give a talk, say 200 people in a college. All the 100 people's attention is now on you, and you are not used to it. Okay. Now there you require a different level of ego and different level of consciousness. It's a switch that you have to make from an individual level, one-to-one basis, to a group, a big group. Now, that switch has to occur naturally. This ability to switch according to the situation is what is called as the flexibility of the consciousness. Suppose you are called to present a paper in an international conference. Then the kind of thing that you require is a totally different thing. Presenting a paper or presenting something to a common man, 100 people who are common people, is different. Presenting something to a group of learned people in an international conference is a totally different ball game altogether. So each of them requires different levels of consciousness and different levels of functioning of the ego. Now, when you actually stand in front of 100 people, your ego is for the time being becomes grosser, a bit more intense. And the reason for that is the function of the ego is to protect you. You remember that. Always remember, the function of the ego is to protect and preserve. So when you stand in front of 100 people, you should not be impacted by the attention of the 100 people. Now, just imagine 100 people are looking at you intently. What is supposed to happen to you? If 100 people are looking at you intently, what is supposed to happen to you?
You become
Nervous.
anxious, upright.
Anxiety.
Why do you become anxious? Have you ever thought about it? We talk about social anxiety, that, this, and all. Why do people become social anxious?
Fear of
Because
some
of the
kind. I
attention.
Become conscious.
Sorry?
You become very conscious.
You become conscious. Okay. Anything else?
Fear of
Nervousness also.
Fear.
Brother.
fear of some kind. Just
They're
thinking.
Fear.
transmitting
But
to you.
how does that fear get elicited?
They're transmitting. They're transmitting to you.
You are just standing in front of them. 100 people are there in front of you. You are not transmitting. You are not. You just need to go and give a talk to them for 10 minutes. Right? You should never forget the fundamental rule that where attention goes, what follows?
Energy.
Energy
Energy
goes.
follows.
Energy.
Okay. Now you are standing in front of 100 people. 100 people are looking at you. what is supposed to happen to your energy levels?
Decreases.
Deplete.
Decrease.
Increase.
100 people are
Increase.
looking at
Goes
you.
up.
100 people
Increases.
now focused on you. What is supposed to happen to your energy levels?
Increase.
High.
Automatically increases.
Increase.
The moment it
Yeah,
automatically increases, until unless you have learned to handle that increased amount of energy coming towards you,
Okay.
you cannot be safe. You don't feel safe. You don't feel comfortable. So, as a reciprocal measure, the ego becomes strong. Why does the ego become strong? To protect you from that excessive energy. Till you find your space of comfort, after which the ego gradually starts mellowing down. Have you seen that? So, initially, many people are very anxious at the start of the talk. But as and when they become more used to the talk and they find their place of comfort, the ego kind of recedes and they're able to handle that energy in a better way. Okay, the bigger the group, more the eyes focused on you. That's why many times you need to do certain things to actually allow that energy to be modulated. And one of the best ways of modulating that energy is to actually cut jokes and make the atmosphere less tense, both for you and for others. The moment you actually cut some jokes, make some humor, they actually now relax. When they relax, the amount of energy that is flowing towards you also to some extent comes down. And you find it easier to handle that energy coming your way. That also gives you to actually think through what you want to discuss or what you want to present to the audience. In that way. And the other thing is keep asking questions in between for the audience. Make it interactive. If you are only talking all the time, everyone is looking at you and you are bombarded with energy. The moment you actually ask somebody to ask a question, so when that person is asking the question, where is the rest of the people's attention? On you or on the person who is asking the question?
On him. So we diverted.
Is asking.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So you have multiple ways. These are all dynamics that you have to learn to develop, absorb, assimilate, and then utilize it for delivering what you need to deliver and prepare the hearts. That's what needs to happen.
Then, brother, what is nervousness? So people suddenly become nervous.
Anytime you are thrown off balance, either because of energy or because of emotion or because of thinking, whatever it might be, it's going to make you nervous. Nervousness is a feeling of unsettledness. When the mind is settled on a particular thing, you don't feel nervous. When the mind is suddenly removed from a particular thing, you feel nervous. In other words, you pass through a phase where the mind is unsettled before it eventually settles down onto something else. The moment the mind settles down on the next thing, that nervousness is gone. But in between phase, when the mind is unsettled and not settled on anything in particular, you have a period of nervousness. Okay? Okay. Anyway, we were talking about one homework I want to give you people. Differentiating between spiritual heat and material heat. It's a very vast topic. This is something relevant for the journey of each one of you, including all of us. And Babuji has talked about this difference in different places in different contexts. I want you people to keep this perspective in mind when you read the CWRC and then collate all things related to spiritual heat and all things related to material heat in one particular place. Okay? And that will be a very useful thing for you. It will be useful for you even when you become preceptors. Because that's something that you are going to utilize for the benefit of the journey of the Abhyasi. Now, when we meditate, it's not that the material heat in the system is going to increase. Why is meditation called as tapassu? Because the spiritual heat in the system is going to increase, not the material heat. So our job is, before we actually do the meditation, to decrease the material heat. To the extent that the material heat is decreased, to that extent the spiritual heat can actually come into the system. If the material heat is dominating at all times, even though you may do many things in meditation and spiritual sadhana, your journey towards the reality will be very slow because you are not able to assimilate or even imbibe or even get that spiritual heat in the system. So this clear conception you need to have difference between the spiritual heat versus material heat. A clue to that is given in maxim 1. When Babaji differentiates between the spiritual heat versus the heat from the sun. It's there in maxim 1. But then that heat is there across the board. And the spiritual heat is there till the end of creation. Till the start of Mahapralaya, the spiritual heat is there 24 hours everywhere at all times. We just need to learn to tap into it and utilize it for our journey. And that's our job. But you can only learn to tap into it if you know what is it and how to tap into it. Right? So that is the homework. First, to differentiate between the spiritual heat and material heat. Then secondly, how to tap into that spiritual heat for our spiritual journey. Those are the two questions as a homework as part of this central region. Soumya sister.
Yes, brother. Brother, can you little elaborate about destructive eye?
Babuji says the time for opening the destructive eye has already come. So he has sent Putin and Trump to take part in that. Okay. You might actually, the destructive eye is just below the center. You know the occipital corners, brother showed it in terms of the back of the head. I think he's got it from one of the medical books. So it had marked upper occipital nerve, lower occipital nerve, that, this, and all. Don't worry about all those things. You just put your hand at the back, just press it, and then take it down. As you take it down, you can feel one bony prominence, after which suddenly it goes down. It like goes into a kind of a dip. Now that part where the bone is very prominent, that is the occipital prominence, and that is where the center is. Just below that is the destructive eye. And whenever any major upheaval needs to be done for human civilization, that destructive eye is opened. And Babaji says the similar conditions what prevailed during the time of Mahabharata has now again come to the fore. So to some extent the destructive eye will be opened for setting the society right. That is what is going to happen. Okay. Beyond that, it's not a realm or it's not something that we need to worry too much about because that's only the realm of the activity of the avatars and the special personality.
Special personality, yeah.
So why unnecessarily worry about something that we are not anyway going to use? We have heard it, leave it like that. Aramse, let us look at what is it that we are supposed to do. That's the best thing to do. Okay?
Yeah, thank you, brother.
Saumya sister, if you are in Saumyata, there is no need for destructive eye.
Yes, brother.
Okay. Karthik, you wanted to say something? He's gone, I think. Good. So your modules have been postponed by one more week. We're supposed to start on 3rd. It's now going to start probably on the 10th. Your orientation will also be postponed by 1 week. So you are going to have the orientation, the candidate orientation at the regional level on the 9th, Sunday. At the central level, you will have it on 8th. Okay. Karthik, go ahead.
Yeah. So sorry, no, I was there, but it was just muted. So my this thing is, brother, now we want to merge and swim. The first thing, what the spiritual thing is, the first thing is mergence and then swimming. So, but here again, the thing is like, if you go to say 13 point inertia, you are not going to do anything. So, how, how will masters manage this?
I've already said that they are brought down by few notches to enable them to work. That's why Daji writes about it in heartfulness way. It is one thing to become divinized. It's the other thing to actually being divinized to be able to work here. You have to get used to that state of divinity and still be able to work here. in this realm. They are two separate things. Initially, we strive for achieving that divinization. But after the divinization, you need to learn to lead a life here while having the body and the mind to be able to do the nature's work. So that is a different experience altogether in the sense that you will now learn to lead a real life. Till that time, as you align to the reality, it is spiritual life. Once you have aligned to the reality, then you have to come down and be able to do the work. And that is real life. So getting merchants in reality is one thing. Even after merchants, to be able to lead the life here in reality or in touch with reality is another thing. And there the instrument that comes to our use is this flexibility of consciousness, being able to move up and down the ladder. That is what is going to give you that ability to lead a real life. And that will happen to everyone, not to worry. Not only to masters, anybody who enters into the central region and has some alignment with the center, after they have sufficiently absorbed the center, they are brought down by few notches to enable them to work for the nature. That is part and parcel of our journey.
Yes. Okay, brother. One more thing. What I wanted to say is, as you go on higher stages, higher points, wherever masters take you, it is understood that the thoughts originate at a different level. They come as a vibration, what you get as a thought, and you write it. Then there are something what you feel are the symptoms of inner joy and all that, this thing. So that is why there is no doubting or, like deviating from what Babuji or Chariji or Lalaji or Daji is telling. Correct? So, yeah, I'll write down the question, brother. Forget it.
The point is this: whatever we read, no, in the Towards Infinity and the Efficacy of Raja Yoga, it is a template given to every human being. Don't look at it as Babuji's experience, Lalaji's experience, or Daji's experience. That is not what you need to look at it as. You need to look at it as a template given to all of us. When we were to do the same sadhanas that they did, we are also likely to pass through the same stages of spiritual journey. So we have been given a master template to help us proceed towards the center. Okay? That is what we are doing. So don't make the mistake of looking at it as Babuji's sadhana or Babuji's journey versus Lalaji's journey or versus Daji's journey. That's not how it is. It is a template given. If anybody does these practices, they are going to follow the same pattern in going towards where all these people we are also going to go towards the same direction to the same realm. So look at it as a template, not as this person or that person's experience or journey. Okay, just keep that perspective in mind. Shrikant.
Regarding addressing the audience, I found a distinct difference in my own experience after I started Sahaj Abhyas. I found that there is some kind of effortless empowerment. So that was one distinct difference that I could find. And when I read Master's books, like he says, special personality is doing this. I found another fascinating thing that there is absolute detachment. Like he's doing and also he's recording. So that was something wonderful. Can you please throw more light on this aspect, brother? It's something wonderful, actually.
Both the experiences you have only spoken about as the change. Now, you want me to experience about your experience or comment about
No,
your experience.
I mean, Babuji Maharaj, like he's like while he's writing, I mean, he doesn't use I. He says special personalities doing this and those who can. So that was something I thought you could throw more light from, I mean, I don't have the words and, you know,
It
so.
just indicates to what extent Babuji had detached himself from the idea of I. In fact, very rarely he use the word I. He used to run away from it. But he still needed some kind of an identity, no? When he's actually trying to convey certain things. So he used to take the special personality as the kind of an identity, which was the truth. He was only talking about, he was utilizing the current state that he was in as the realm from which he's going to relate to other people, not from the concept of I. All of us have the concept of I, and that I-ness actually evolves till we reach the V-ness, and then from the U-ness and to the is-ness. I-S, N-E-S-S, is-ness. That's the final state. So we start with I, move to V, then to U, and then is-ness. So when Babuji is talking about the special personality, he is talking from the context of that is-ness. The special personality is. It's the special personality who is doing. So he does not identify himself as I, but the special personality. And that's something that would happen to anybody. As and when they go to the highest level and they recognize their place in the universe, their part in this universal game or drama, they would recognize probably themselves as that isness, not from the perspective of the I. Okay. Otherwise, it's very difficult to convey who is doing what. Because people want to know that who is doing what. So you need to have something to go with to actually help people relate to. And that's why he is using the word special personality. Okay. Now, no master can say, I am the special personality. Because that I is not there. So how can they say that I am the special personality? So they can only quote about these things indirectly. And that's what Babaji does. Mentioning about certain things indirectly. Okay. Okay, Madhuri.
So I was just reading the message in the chat. That's where attention goes, energy flows. That's how we give the power to the temples. So in one book, in complete works only, Master said, we give power to the devas. We means liberated souls. He clarified. So they also focus or put attention where so that energy goes to those devas like that, or means otherwise they give instructions. What is the meaning of that line?
It happens automatically. It happens automatically. The moment the will of that special personality or the one who is closely aligned to the center is exercised in accordance with the divine will, the power flows to these different functionaries of nature without the need for any attention. It just flows automatically. It's just like Master, Daji Master now transmitting to us by his presence. He doesn't need to actually pay attention. Although we define transmission as an attentional power of the soul. That's the definition of transmission. Attentional power of the soul. But if you ask Daji, who is he paying attention to? He'll say none. Why? Because he's now become a continuous transmitter. So he does not transmit consciously. It just happens automatically. Whoever is actually ready to receive the transmission, they'll get it. So he doesn't have to pay attention. He doesn't have to. You see, even if you want to pay attention, you have to put some effort, no? So Master's realm of existence is effortlessness. So there is no question of any attention at all. It just happens just by the presence of the Divine Master. That's it. So likewise, it just happens by the presence of the special personality. It just automatically flows from them to all the devas. Now you might wonder, how is that the functionaries of nature actually undergo decay over a period of time? If all the functionaries of nature are in utmost working order, there is no need for the avatars to come. But we human beings are not only good at spoiling ourselves, we are also good at spoiling the nature. To the extent that we interfere with the working of the powers of the nature. When the workings of the powers of the nature become so impeded, then the nature has to bring down a special personality or an avatar to set things right. So that their job, the avatars and the special personalities' job, is to empower these powers of nature. And who is making it necessary? We human beings are making it necessary. That's why the Sahajmar philosophy, the tuning, for example, always keep that in mind. One human path, one divine path. We always keep the human path because of the human mind being active. It always has an impact on the divine path and it corrupts the divine path. When the divine path is corrupted, the power of the functionaries of nature goes down. When it goes down to a certain extent, there is chaos in the society. That is when nature works to bring an avatar or a special personality to re-empower these powers of nature so that order is established in the functioning of the nature and the human society. That's why Krishna says, whenever dharma goes down, I have to come back as an avatar. Now the question comes, who is actually making the dharma go down? We human beings are making the dharma go down. Animals cannot do, plants cannot do. None of the other living beings can actually make the dharma go down. The only people who are capable of doing that kind of a work is human beings.
But after Krishna coming also, we got Kali Yuga only, na?
It doesn't matter. See, that is a sequence of nature. There are multiple things going on. Now, just because Krishna came, why do you want to kind of? That's like saying, just because Krishna came, you got a very good teacher. You are saying that I don't want to study 2 years, I want to study the final year of BSc and you should give me the degree. Just because you got a special teacher. Whether you got a special teacher or a normal teacher, you still have to go through your BSc, first, second, third year. You cannot jump the queue and say, no, I got a special teacher. They are able to teach me very well. So I don't want to study the first 2 years. Please put me directly to the third year, I'll finish it. That you cannot do. Likewise, whatever is in store as far as the sequence of nature's work is concerned, that will continue. The avatars only come and make certain things in nature more powerful so that more conducive environment, not against the work of the nature, more conducive environment in tune with the work of the nature is established. That's all the job of the avatars is. Okay? They will not stop the Kali Yuga from coming. That's not their job. Whatever needs to happen in time will happen. Their job is to make it happen in a felicitated or facilitated way with the powers or the functionaries of nature in good order. That's what they do. Okay. Murthy?
Namaste, brother. You earlier spoke about the year 2042. What was the context, brother?
2042.
You said
2042. 2025 to 2040.
40. What is that?
The context is that a lot of changes are expected in the world, the way that the world is functioning as of now. Lot of restructuring is going to take place. Major restructuring. All models point to that particular direction only. All models. Sociological model, economic model, religious model, astrological models. All models point to the same direction. This period between 2025 to 2040 is a period of major changes.
So what I've read earlier is that 2012 the Kali Yuga ended, and then 2042 this 30 years is a transition period. Anyway, we'll not go into that. But
not to worry about it.
Huh?
Not to worry about it. If you want to take it from 2012 to 30 years, I have no objection to it. Please take it.
Okay. Now the other point what I wanted to ask you is, now current avatar is Kalki avatar. Is he working in tandem with the special personality, or what is happening? Any clue by any of the whispers?
Your conception that the Kali Yuga ended at 2012 itself is wrong. Okay. So if that is wrong, there's no question of any Kalki avatar as at present. So not to worry about it. Whenever Kalki comes, let him come. Why should we worry about it? Let us look at our spiritualism. Not to bother about Kalki's avatar. What is it that we have got now? What is it that we have got to do now in order that we can actually make our journey towards the center possible? That is what we should be looking at. rather than worrying about. See, avatars come and do their job and go. Why should we bother about avatars? So don't unnecessarily get clogged in the things which are irrelevant for our journey. It's only been 5,000 years, 5,500 years odd since the time the Krishna's Yuga ended. So if you look at it from that perspective, all this nonsense that there was so much hullabulla created 2012, Earth is going to end, creation is going to end. What nonsense? Nothing happened. So all these things are a creation of a figment of imagination of a human mind. If you look at the Bhagavata Purana, Kali Yuga is supposed to last for 3,64,000 years. You have only finished 5,500 years. Where is the end? So Kalki is not going to come so fast, so don't worry about it.
No, but there's another catch in the Whispers, the first one we read. Babaji has quoted 40,000 years.
Don't worry about again. Don't worry about the number of years. He's quoted 1 lakh years in CWRC. So don't worry about that particular thing. If you read the Puranas, they quote n number of years. Harishchandra ruled 25,000 years. Now you might wonder, how can a person live for 25,000 years?
No, but
So
if
these kinds of things. One
Okay.
minute. These kinds of things, don't get entangled. Unnecessary things. Okay. That's the reason why Jaisima brother read that whisper. Don't get entangled in details. And that was a very important thing in that particular whisper. Take the gist of it and utilize it for your present so that the future can be better. To that extent, it's okay. But don't get entangled in the numbers, that, this, and all. Okay? Jaisima?
No. In that Whispers, what they said is in that subtext, it was written 40,000 years is anthropologist. That is a scientific community thinks Homo sapiens appeared 40,000 years ago. But then basically our Puranas and others actually date back to several other years. That is, as you rightly said, ISKCON founder, right? Bhakti Prabhupada. They've quoted him. So I don't think Babaji said anything about 40,000. I thought I'll just mention that.
Anyway, not to worry about the number. Okay? Our job is, this is where we are. This is what we are supposed to do. How can we evolve from the present to go towards our goal? I think our mind should be just fixed on that. Okay? Karthik?
Yes, brother. Sorry. Yeah, before you're telling, that same thought came. The only thing we are supposed to focus is on the goal. Forget everything else. What has to happen will happen. First thing. Second thing, brother Raghu, what I wanted you to, there was this thing in Kana, they asked Daji, where do you see yourself in 2040? Why I am telling is it just a dot which connected, suddenly it fell. Because Daji at that time replied, I don't know what is going to be there in 2040, whether I am there, not there. So in this context, I realized right now we have a living master. We should take maximum utilization, complete our spiritual journey, do as what the master says or what he wants. His basically, I just felt it. Daji's vision is the whole universe, whole humanity should have minimum 3 sittings in their lifetime, so that the seed of spirituality is already sown in them, and then what has to happen will happen.
Okay.
This is really, thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing. Manikantan?
This is about, about the samskaras. I'm just deviating back to samskaras topic. In one of your videos, you mentioned about the covering that samskaras are really not belonging to the soul. That you touch upon different discussion. We have ego, which is actually saving the faculties of body and mind. But you mentioned that samskaras are the coverings, but that is also not belonging to the soul, actually, if you look at it. So could you please throw some light on it? Because because my understanding of the samskara connecting to the prarabdha karma and the sanchita karma, it's only connecting link is the soul, because body we shed every life. So there is no way the samskaras getting transferred or taken from, or so that is what my understanding. But when you said that samskaras also not belong to the soul, that actually changed my topic. I got confused now. So thank you.
Suppose you carry something in your pocket. Do you mean to say that that thing is attached to you or it is with you? What do you say?
It is with me.
That's all.
It is
Right?
with me. Yes.
It is
Yes.
with you. So when the soul leaves the body, it takes the samskaras with it. It's not attached to it. It is with it. That's all.
Okay.
So the soul is always, like our body is always detached from the things that we carry in our pocket. Our body is separate. Likewise, the soul is always separate from the samskaras that it carries. It is never attached. The samskaras can never attach to the soul. Please keep that in mind. It's not possible because they are of two different nature. The soul as identity is akasha. Now, can you say that anything that is there, the dust that you see, anything, any particle that you see in this space is attached to the space? Is it ever possible for those particles to get attached to the space? No. The very nature of the akasha prevents anything from attaching it itself to the akasha. So if you look at identity, which is the soul, as the self, as the akasha, you read about it in the cosmology, right? In fact, yesterday we were discussing about the same point in the perceptress group. Center is akasha, identity is akasha. Now, another question for you to ponder about, which we were discussing yesterday, is Babaji writes, when you enter into the central region, the ego gets modified into identity. You have read that in the book. Now, does he mean to say that the ego is now going to become akasha? Is that what does he mean? Or something else? All that we read is ego becomes identity, and they will ask you in the exam also. You will also write in the exam and come back. But does he mean to say if identity is akasha, if ego is going to become the identity, that means the ego is going to become the akasha, right? But that cannot be the case. So ego is actually becoming something else as into the central region, but it's aligned with the akasha or the identity. So if you actually look at it, no, what Babuji means when he says the ego becomes the identity is that ego becomes the grossness covering the identity. The three coverings, you remember the central region. That is the grossness. So when we enter into the central region, we establish ourselves in the state of awareness and gross identity. So that grossness which is there on the identity is the ego now in a metamorphosis form. Compared to the ego, which is in the 12th point, as you enter into the 13th point and into the central region and you have the gross identity, the grossness is finer than the finest of the ego. You have 11 circles of ego. And then when you enter into the central region, you now become the gross identity, grosser covering of the identity. But that grosser covering, although we use the word gross, it is actually finer than the finest of the ego in the sequence. Okay? And that makes sense because then identity is nothing but akasha. That stays as it is. That doesn't change. So you have a grosser aspect of the identity or grosser coverings to the identity. The three final the coverings, the first three coverings. Idea of separateness, anxiety, and desire. Those three coverings are still there. That is called as gross identity. As you go higher, what happens is that the identity remains as it is. But these three coverings are lost. When these three coverings are lost, you call it as fine identity because the coverings are gone. Now, at that stage, when the fine identity comes in, there is no need to be awareness also. So, awareness also goes. As long as there is a covering, there is a need for awareness. Once all the covering goes and you become like the center, center is also akasha, identity is also akasha. The fine identity is nothing but akasha. Both are akasha only. Then where is the need for awareness? There is no awareness. Awareness disappears. So in the center, you have established in the state of unawareness. Okay, that is what is supposed to happen. When otherwise, it will become difficult to reconcile these things. Ego becoming identity. Later on, he expands. Ego becomes the gross identity, grosser aspects of the identity, not identity itself. Identity is Akasha. Okay, so that was an interesting point that we were discussing yesterday. In the context of how do avatars actually give darshan for us? And that's a very interesting thing. How do if we many times people claim that they have seen Krishna, they have seen this, that. How does it happen? What's the mechanism behind it? And that was a very interesting discussion we had yesterday. And in that context, this also came about. The relationship between, we read about avatars, no? And avatars have causal body. But that causal body gets destroyed after their avatar is over. But avatars still have identity. Krishna still has identity. And Babaji writes in 44 Whispers that Rama's identity is no longer there. Krishna's identity is there. So only two people who are in charge now is Krishna and Babaji from two different perspectives. But Rama's identity is not there. So Hanumant actually comes to take sittings from Babaji because Rama is no longer there. Okay, so some of these are interesting aspects you will get to know when you actually start working as preceptors and start reading the other. This 1944 Whispers I told you last time around is a treasure trove of so many aspects. Everything will become crystal clear when you go through those discussions and then ponder about that. So I wish and hope that all of you are able to read that 44 Whispers once you come back as being trained as preceptors. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Namaste, brother. One question, brother. Like we say, whatever activities that happen at a place, that leaves some trail behind, or that impacts us at later point in time, who visits that place. But is it also true that there is a long like I had lot of thoughts in between, but I will cut it short. Does it happen that it also affects time at a place, like time duration? Say, when I go to my native, I feel the time is very slow, even though we wake up at 5 and same routine is there. But when I go to like some place like the time appears very fast, even though physical clock is showing it the same way. I mean, I just was trying to understand it has any spiritual significance attached to it, because like place has everything has, so like running fast, time running fast, feeling like we are feeling. Uh, does it? Can you share something about it?
The way the time is experienced depends on which realm of Akasha you are established in at any particular point of time. So in the context of what you said now, depending on the external environment create conditions for you to dwell in three different levels of consciousness, Akasha, three levels of spaces. So if the external condition in a particular place is such that your mind ends up dwelling on the physical body, you will feel that the time is not passing at all. It's going very slow. But if the condition of a place is such that it allows your mind to dwell at the level of the mind itself in the subtle body, then the time appears to pass as it is. Half an hour will be felt as half an hour.
Mm.
However, if the condition of a place is such that your mind now dwells in the spiritual realm of your existence, or the causal body, or causal akasha, it is called as the chidakasha. So when we are in the physical space, we feel time is going very slow. When we are in the mental space, we feel that the time is going on par. When we are in the spiritual space or the heart space, we feel that the time is going very fast. It just indicates the realm of your existence. So our experience of time is in relation to the realm of the existence where we are at any particular point in time. And the external condition, the atmosphere, creates the necessary situations where we can exist at either of these three levels. Very simple example I'll give you. When we were Abhyasis, say 25 years back, when we used to sit in the ashram post satsang, we always used to feel time is not passing only. Today there was an Abhyasi who had come and the sitting was going on. Post sitting, we just asked her what happened. Just felt that she had opened the eyes twice and then she was waiting for the sitting to be over. The moment I said that's all, she was more eager for the sitting to end than anything else. Now, the simple reason is her mind is still accustomed to the physical space. If the mind is turned towards the spiritual or the mental space, it's not something that her mind is accustomed to. So she'll feel very uncomfortable. Obviously, she's a person who's not been taking sitting for months together now. Only she came with her mother today. So her mind is still in the physical realm of the space. So the time feels very, very slow to go. You'll feel bored. Again, when you allow the mind to settle down on the subtle body, the time will be on par. That means that is the chidakasha, chittakasha. Chitta is related to mind. So chitta plus akasha, mind space. When we are in the mind space, time goes on par. When we go towards the spiritual space or the heart space, it's called as chidakasha. Time goes pretty fast. The usefulness of pranahuti is that it actually takes you from the realm of the bhutakasha, the physical space, to the chidakasha very fast. If you try to go to the chidakasha by yourself, it takes n number of years. But if you actually practice meditation with pranahuti, your ability to go to the chidakasha will be very, very fast. So now, fast forward 25 years down the line, now if we go and sit in the ashram, we feel that the time is going very fast. Unlike what used to happen 25 years back. Not that anything has changed in the ashram. The ashram is still ashram only. But our perspective of our dwelling of the mind in the physical space was a lot more at that time. Now it's more at the spiritual space. So you find that the time is going very fast. That's all it is. Okay. So the external atmosphere creates the necessary conditions for the mind to settle in one of these three spaces. That is how the external atmosphere is going to impact us.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, brother. Thank you.
Brother,
Okay.
I think that's why, like in meditation now, when we wake up, we feel like it was just 5 minutes, but already so much time has been. But
Right.
any reason, brother, why why it has been fastened now? Like we are feeling it that way.
Even in science, you read that the time is in relation to the space. 1 hour here is different from 1 hour in Mars, 1 hour in Moon, 1 hour in Sun. It is relative to the space that you are in. Likewise, the experience of the space and the time is in relation to the space that we are in. Even in the same Chidakasha, when we touch different realms of Chidakasha, for example, you remember that example I had quoted that Lalaji says that I'm going to give a sitting to Chariji in an airport, and Babuji says, no, Lalaji Sahib is here, he's going to give sitting, now get ready. And Lalaji Sahib gives 1 minute sitting. By the time he closes eyes, the sitting is over. Then Chariji says, what sitting? Only 1 minute. Then Lalaji says he will take years together to digest this 1 minute of transmission. So remember that transmission coming from the highest realm, as far as our journey here is concerned, takes years for us to digest. And again, there is this example, there is this story in Bhagavad Purana. One person goes to Brahma to ask him some question. I can't remember the exact full name of the king who goes to Brahma to ask him some question. By the time he comes from Brahmaloka back to earth, millions of years have passed. None of his relatives are there. His city is not there. His kingdom is not there. Nothing is there on this earth. Everything has changed. And then he's confused. Where are my family? Where are my relatives? Where is my kingdom? Then he gets to know that that one day in Brahma's realm or even 1 minute in Brahma's realm is so many thousands of years as far as earthly realm is concerned. So time is relative. So please keep this perspective in mind. And I only gave you the three broad relative durations in terms of Bhutakasha, Chittakasha, and Chidakasha. Within this, you can have multiple levels. Okay, so time is a very relative thing. Okay, when the time is relative, as we progress in spirituality, now sometimes it's necessary to take sittings from senior preceptors. And have you ever wondered? See, as you evolve as a preceptor, grow as a preceptor, your ability to transmit from higher realms becomes possible. So when you transmit from that higher realm, it is not only going to be impactful, it's also going to change the very nature of your journey. So where possible, if you do get an opportunity to take sittings from a senior preceptor, please take it. Okay. Now, lot of people say that every sitting from every preceptor is the same. Now, it cannot be the case. Even in material realm, it cannot be the case. Everybody teaches the same maths, but how they teach and how you grasp, how you relate to that is different, no? Some people, when they teach, you grasp it very immediately, very easily. But when some people teach, you find it so hard to actually relate to what they're teaching, right? And as and when you grow as a teacher in terms of experience, your ability to connect to the disciple becomes better and better. Likewise, multiple things in terms of the spiritual work changes as you grow as a preceptor. Please remember that. It's not the same thing. The day one that you start working as a preceptor to say 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, 30 years down the line, it will change, it will evolve. It cannot be the same as the first day one. And many people try to discount it. There's no need to discount it. It's a fact that we have to accept and then utilize it for our journey. Why not? No, people will not say, no, no, you are a new preceptor, I'm not going to take a sitting from you. No, for an abhyasi, it's okay. But as we evolve in our spiritual journey, the need to take sittings from highly spiritually evolved people also becomes necessary. Of course, masters do the work, but they also do the work through the preceptors, senior preceptors. So when you do get a chance to take sittings from senior preceptors, once in a while, please do it. In fact, what we do in our place is that if some abhyasis come here regularly, we will identify those abhyasis who might benefit from a sitting from a senior preceptors and we actually send them directly. You go here and take a sitting and come back. All of us need to develop that freedom. We should not hesitate to do that because at the end of the day, our work is essentially to ensure the spiritual progress of the people who come to you. Whatever helps, helps. Why not? Okay. So keep this in mind. And some people might find it controversial. It's not controversial, it is a fact. Okay. As we grow, we end up taking sittings from preceptors who are more evolved. Now, that doesn't mean to say if you take sittings from a new preceptor, suppose a very experienced preceptor takes a sitting from a new preceptor. Now, if master says that this work which is supposed to happen to this preceptor is not going to happen through this person, master takes over the sitting. I don't think we need to worry about that. But then the Sankalpa Shakti of a preceptor, the Ichha Shakti of the preceptor, the nature of the transmission, all of them change as you evolve as a preceptor. So the impact also will be different. Okay. Okay, pa. Let us stop here.
Brother, one last. So is this thing? That's why, as you said, when the newly made preceptor is transmitting to the senior one. So I think I know one or two example where the person who just got as a preceptor permission, someone says, "Oh, give me your first sitting, give me your first sitting." So maybe because that time master only is doing. So is that the case?
Exactly. See, when you are a new preceptor, you have no clue. You've been taught 2 days in Kanha, and you come back here and you are supposed to give the sitting. You don't even remember what are the instructions to be given during the sitting. Right? So you sit and then you say start. Then after that, you have no clue what is supposed to happen. You have some vague idea. Okay. Then what happens? Master takes over this thing and does what is necessary. So more often than not, when a new preceptor comes back, it's the master only who's doing the sitting, because the new preceptor are still kind of trying to find their place, right? So that's how it is. No problem. Thank you very much for your time, and we have finished this efficacy of Raja Yoga now. We will now move on to towards infinity from Tuesday. Okay. Prachi
Thank you,
Joshi,
brother.
are you putting your Ashirwad
Thank
for
you.
all of us?
Sorry,
Thank you, Jai Sima
I
brother.
was saying thank you.
Jai Shri Ram,
Thank
brother.
So
Thank you.
Jaisima
Thank you so
brother, we
much.
have kept him long wait today. I don't think he's used to so long a wait. So 10:50. So he should be thankful that in the last day we kept him eyes wide open till 10:50.
No, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, brother. That's all. Hopefully.
That was very good.
Yeah.
One of the things that we enjoyed, I'm just kind of making some observation that we enjoyed was the calmness with which the entire thing flowed during your presentation. And that was a very, very nice, apt thing for many of us to follow. It was very, very calm and soothing. Although you were making all the points, but it was coming in a very, very even and balanced way. And that was very nice quality that you have got. And I think all of us should endeavor to develop that. Okay. So we'll, on all of us, other people's behalf and our behalf, we thank you also for your presentation. And we hope to see you sometime soon. We'll give you some more
Sure.
difficult book.
Oh,
You
no.
have efficacy pretty well. So we'll give you something more difficult book so that we can have one more session of that presentation. Okay.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
brothers.